And so one question I keep forgetting, coming back to how you said that you want to champion this sexual education for us to teach kids how important it is and what normal, normal sex is like and normal communication. And I'm curious how you reconcile that in your community, in your conversations in like a faith-based community where, from my perspective and good friends that are in those communities, because I grew up Catholic. I still have some of my best friends that are Catholic, and so teach at Catholic schools, etc. And there's a lot of talk about abstinence and all these things, and it always seemed to me that like this was ignoring the reality of teenagers that have these urges and that think past this idea of celibacy and chastity, etc. So, and your approach seems more along the lines of what I would think would be helpful for kids to actually know what they're facing in the world. So I'm curious how you have those discussions within like a faith-based community.
I'm just pretty real. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, But I think though also the conviction to save yourself for marriage is very individual and has to be between that person and God, and then their partner that they choose to marry as well. And so I think that like, why can't we? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but as far as like when I'm talking to faith-based people, it's like, why can't we do both? Why can't we talk about like,
yes.
Yeah, like save yourself for marriage. And this is why we say this. But also like all of a sudden, once you're married, then a light's supposed to go on and it's supposed to not be bad. Like, why can't we just talk about like sex is normal and sex is a beautiful gift that as a Christian, like from the Lord for like intimacy and what it's meant for. And just having those conversations about like, this is what it is. It's not just all about like making babies. Like it was meant to be enjoyed and it was a gift, and it is a gift intended for a specific time in your life which for me, like the conviction of that is marriage. But if that's not your conviction, then let's talk about like how we go about that in a healthy manner so that it's stewarded well, if you will, like so that it's cared for, and that there's respect and it is understood to be what it is. Yeah,
that's stewarded well. I really like, because the idea of ignoring it and not talking about it at all, which is kind of what I grew up with. I grew up in a Catholic system, so but it wasn't as dogmatic as talking about abstinence. I don't remember any of that. I think it was more just talking about reproduction and how the body works, and I don't think we ever talked about sex, and that's it, which kind of fits with Catholicism, to be honest. Like it's like yeah, it's there, but don't worry about it. And then the other side is a more draconian approach that I think is that like everyone has to be abstinent and this is the only way to do it. Whereas I really like, and I don't like when a religion or people telling me that I have to do anything, but I really respect that other people, if you want to wait until marriage and that's the conviction that you have, all the power to you. I think it's just like marriage, I think is a really noble cause. It doesn't mean that most of them don't end, but like, I think going into it and saying that like, I love this person, or I love my chastity enough that I would like to sustain this until I get married. I think those are all great. But to think that like, that's the way that most teenagers or people in their 20s act, I think is like, it's kind of willful blindness.